BJORK in a talk show special with Verity Sharp.
Hello and welcome to The Talk Show. The Icelandic singer BJORK is a musical law unto herself. She's known for her quirky experimental music, her theatrical live performances, and for wearing swans. She trained in classical music and then went on to form a succession of punk bands, culminating in the Sugar Cubes, Iceland's most successful exported band to date. But it wasn't until she went solo in 1993 with her album debut, selling over 3.5 million copies worldwide, that she became recognised as one of the most distinctive and exciting talents to have appeared in music for years. And BJORK, now you've just recently released your fourth album, Vespertine. Just give us an idea of the ideas behind that album.
Yeah, for me, the album I did before, Homogenic and Vespertine, are like twins, but they're polarized opposites. So Homogenic was the extrovert one, who's very outgoing and confrontational and hardcore, and Vespertine is the shy one, the introvert one, and the gentle one, and the patient one, very patient one.
Can mean of the night, can it, Vespertine?
Yeah, it took me a while to find the title. The working title was Domestica, because I wanted, like, Homogenic to be the outgoing album, but Vespertine to be the album that's sort of staying indoors and being passive in your house. But then after I'd gathered together all the noises, and they were all from objects around the house, and were all sung, a lot of the vocals were sung like into laptops, and was sort of an album done at home. And when you had, and all the lyrics were sort of about that too, to cocoon yourself. I thought maybe it was a bit too much to call it Domestica 2. Yeah. So I decided to get some help from the name and find a name that would cover the more poetic aspect of the album. Both Vespertine means, can mean evening prayers, because I think a lot of the songs were slightly prayer-like. And also it means all the things that come out in the night. If it's bats or people or stars. So, and I think that the album definitely has that quality.
Personality-wise for you, which one do you identify the most with, the extrovert or the introvert? Is it possible to say?
I think everybody have a bit of both. I think I'm definitely both. I think also after, when I did Homogenic, I had, after the, like, everybody noticed me when I did debut. So for 4 years, I did like 9 billion interviews and met 5 billion people, and I was very ready for it. It was like something I had, and very turned on, and did a lot of very, all the way collaborations where I would become the other people's half, and it was very much, very extrovert, a very communicative period in my life.
Terribly, terribly moody. A human behavior, then all of a sudden turn happy. And in my head after, but oh, to get involved in the exchange of human emotions is ever so satisfying.
I slowly started to shut up afterwards and went into doing Vespertine, which was more kind of like just with your very, 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 very closest friends and the sort of things you would do in that situation.
You were born in 1965, weren't you, just outside Reykjavik, into a communal house. So how many people were actually in this house that you grew up with?
Well, I think it's been, I think it has had some creative effects on journalists, my youth. I'm very proud of that. But I think the truth is probably that I was born to an electrician. And
An electrician, your father?
Yeah, and his wife. And then when I was 1, my mother was not very excited about being an electrician's wife. So she divorced and moved in a house with several people with very long hair and very big record collections. And they all had normal jobs. It wasn't like a community, it was actually downtown Reykjavik. But it did have that sort of flavor and that spirit of the hippie years.
So your mum was into music?
Yeah, well, she was a listener, yeah.
So what sort of music was going on in this house?
It was Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, you know, that stuff.
And when did you start to sing? As a small child, were you humming to yourself?
Yeah, I guess I was one of those kids that always are sort of more comfortable with singing than speaking.
And what did you dream of becoming when you were little? Do you have an idea of what you wanted to become?
I think I knew always that I wanted to do something about music. But I didn't really, it was more like I wanted to be have a radio show or be a music teacher. For a while I wanted to start my own music school with kids from 4 to 6 and experiment with them to write music. Because I did experience from my school that I was in for 10 years that they sort of train you to think that Bach and Beethoven are amazing and you should just sit down and behave and play, you know, that's people's music. Yeah. But they don't really encourage in you that you can actually, you have it all inside you. You don't have to imitate foreigners.
So when did you discover that you could do your own thing?
I'm not sure. I think I was a bit, I think my music school was probably the school where I was slightly, probably difficult. So I would go to musicology classes from the age of 6. And I would sort of not agree with the teacher's methods and stand up and want to get the kids together on instruments and write songs. And the teacher was not very fond of that, I think. Yeah. So I was had my own ideas, and I think the head of the school, I was a very frequent guest in his office, where he would tell me off, and I would tell him off for running a crap school, and try to excite him about the school he could run, you know. So I was probably a bit of a nuisance, you know.
When you actually do write songs, how do you go about that process? Do you have an idea in words about something you want to write about, or do you just start with a tune, a little tune in your head, or humming a tune, or?
I don't know. It seems to be different with every album, because I mean, I've been very lucky to be able to go so far into what I do and be so, in a way, quite self-indulgent, and people are still interested in what I do. So it means that every album I'm more, it's more of a complete universe. Yeah. So right now it all starts hand in hand. Like I will know from the beginning what sort of universe I'm about to start. And I will have the melodies in me, and the words will come, and it will just grow more naturally, like a plant or something.
So once you've got an idea of how a song is going to go, then comes the arrangement, does it?
Yeah, I guess usually in the beginning it's a lot of intuition, and I just do what I want to do, and I just have to be in a space where I can experiment and do stuff, and then afterwards I sit down and arrange it. It's sort of more of the clever academic side in me. You know, because I've been in studios more or less since I was 11, and I have a academic education, so I guess after the songs are written and everything's ready, that's when that side of me kicks in more.
And that's when you decide who to collaborate with, is it? Or
I guess last Vespertine was like that. I didn't collaborate with people till like 80% of the album was ready. But I don't know about this one.
Yeah.
I quite like the idea when it starts that it's a bit of a mystery.
who did you collaborate with on Cocoon, which was the third single, wasn't it, that you released from Vespertine?
Cocoon was special, was a bit of an exception to the album, because when I was in Denmark, I happened to bump into this guy who made songs in his bedroom, sort of laptop music, if you want. And we didn't work together when I was there, but I did go to his house occasionally, and he would play me a lot of new music he discovered, and it would really sort of keep me alive, like hope that there actually are people in the world who have that passion, you know. And then later, much later, when the album was actually ready, I'd written a new melody, Cocoon, and I needed just the backing. So I talked to him, and he sent me a lot of sketches he'd worked on, and I picked one. He's called Thomas Knack, and he came to London. It was like the last song we did on the album.
And what's the song about?
Well, it's called Cocoon, so it's definitely about when you create an imaginary cocoon inside your house with a person you love, and you don't need anything else. So it's a very self-sufficient thing, and it's probably as introvert as it can get.
And intimate as well, isn't it? I mean, I know some people find it almost too intimate. I mean, do you have a sympathy with that point of view, that people just find it a little bit too close?
Yeah, of course. I think people are free to think what they want. I did have a big think about before I did this album, because when I started making music, I think the nature of most musicians is generosity. You really want to give, and you actually, when you're 3 or 4, you actually stand up on a table in the kitchen and you want to sing a song that will make all the upset people in the kitchen happy. And it is actually that Julie Andrews naive kind of silliness, you know. And that's your drive, you know. And even though you become a grown-up, that's still what lies behind it all. I think after all the interviews I did and all the paparazzi and the media attention and this kind of feeling of being robbed, I had to thinking the solution was not to give anything away, and then sitting down and think, wait a minute, that's not right, and try to figure out why you started doing it in the first place, you know. And I think people with my job, they sincerely want to give, but they, of course, like in any human relationships, they want to choose what they give and what they don't give, you know. So I think with Cocoon, it's something in it that I actually wanted to give and I wanted to share. And I can promise you that there are 900 things that I didn't say that I would like to prefer to keep to myself.
The video of Cocoon is quite intimate, isn't it? There you are, no clothes on, being wrapped up into a cocoon by sort of red spiral. It's a wonderful effect, very minimal effects, isn't it? Who actually made that video for you?
I didn't plan it beforehand, but I ended up doing 3 videos for this album, and they were all done with people who have never done videos before. And I'm not sure why that was, but I'll work that one out later. But yes, she's called Eiko Ishioka. She's a Japanese lady, and she has before done costumes and sets.
A train of pearls, cabin by cabin, is shot precisely across an ocean from a mouth, from a mouth of a girl like me to a boy.
Are the visuals important to the music? Do you think they add to the music?
I personally think that most people, I would say about 70% of humans are more trained with their eyes than their ears. You know, like they design cities and cars and telephones to look good, not to sound good. So for me, a video is a shortcut to my music.
What do you like about the electronic sound?
Well, I think I was probably being brought up by hippies and being brought up in Iceland that's very nature obsessed. I was always being taught that civilization, Western civilization, was a baddie. It was the devil, you know, McDonald's and television, and and technology is bad, and we're all going to die very soon or something. And I was thought, okay, fair enough. And then when I got older, I thought, that's rubbish, you know. And it's... my form of courage, especially when I moved to London in '93, was me trying to combine the two worlds, the urban and the rural, and the techno and nature, electronic and acoustic. And it became very sort of black and white. And I'm trying to bridge the two and make them be friends and not be enemies, you know. Dealing with electronics is sort of taking the modern world, and it's a form of courage. And these things are supposed to be ugly, but to take them and take them into your universe and your philosophy. And I think it's even to do with just embracing the moment, you know, to be brave, to kind of make a really gorgeous CD with just harps and angels, and it's too easy.
But that way that you use the harps and the music box and the celeste and all these instruments that bring this kind of fantastical quality to the whole album, really. But they also, I was thinking, kind of humanise that electronic sound, because it can be quite harsh. It can be quite alienating, even though we do live in this world of mobile phones and internets and things, can't it?
Yeah, I think actually electricity was here before us. It's got thunder and lightnings, and acupuncture, which is a Chinese medicine, which I think is 2,000 years old, which deals with the electricity inside us. Our nerve system is run by electricity, and you could very quickly relate that nerves are feelings, you know. So I think, but I think it's human nature that anything that's new is alien and it's scary. But it's, I think actually now, I mean, I've been saying this for 10 years now, it's probably old news, but for the next generation of kids, there's nothing alien about a laptop or a computer game. It's like ping pong or football, you know, was for us, you know.
Yeah. People often say, don't they, that your music's avant-garde or weird, which doesn't seem right, but on the other hand, it's not easily categorised pop music, is it? But I always think it's more like the second generation of pop music, what you're doing, and bands like Radiohead as well. You're sort of taking this whole medium forward. Are you conscious of wanting to take the medium forward? Is being at the cutting edge and pushing that boundary forward something that you really want to do?
I don't know. I think I'm my own hardest judge. I want to make music that I would like to walk now to Tower Records and buy a CD that would like save my life. I've done that so many times, and so many times I walked out really disappointed, and it's a lot of times I walked out like in heaven, you know. So I think that's what I aim for. I think if you aim for being cutting edge, it's just going to be empty. It's not going to be. It's just going to be too clever or something. Yeah. I like to move forward for sure. I think, but I don't think of it maybe as moving forward. I think it's more about being truthful, because, I mean, say if you have one, like we would have this conversation now, but if we would talk every day, in a year we would be talking about different things. I mean, yeah. I hope so. I mean, just like with friendships or with anything, you move on. and your hair grows, and your nails grow, and so I think it's a very natural thing to want to grow or change.
In 2001, you did a gig in London, but you chose the Royal Opera House. Was that a conscious move to move away from pop venues, or was it just a fantasy that you wanted to be on stage in Covent Garden?
Well, it just started off being purely musical decision to go for the acoustics. Because having a lot of harps and a choir and orchestra and electronic noises, like the world that's on Vespertine, you can't play that in Town and Country Club. You know, it would just be like drowned in lager and screams, you know. And so I started looking for places like theatres and churches, chapels, galleries, just anything that was built for acoustic music. And opera houses, that's what they are built for, you know. It probably came across as me thinking, oh, all of a sudden I'm a classical musician, but believe me, it was not my target.
And yet there you are with the choir behind.
I know.
The orchestra in the pit.
Yeah.
This beautiful harp, you know. I mean, it is very operatic, really.
The fingers I was given to touch with, but careful, careful. There lies my passion hidden, there lies my love. I'll hide it under a blanket, lull it to sleep. I'll keep it in a hidden place. I'll keep it in a hidden place. I'll keep it in a hidden place.
You listen to a lot of opera, do you? Or classical music, do you?
Yeah, I don't listen much to opera. I have a problem with projecting the voice in that way. Yeah, I guess I listen to classical music quite a lot. I mean, the music I make, the heart of it, is folk music or pop music. I don't think it's classical music. Or, yeah. I mean, I was very honored about the comments people made about that, but I think at the heart, I'm a pop musician, and I have education. I could have gone pretty serious composer style-y, but I had that choice, but I didn't choose that because it's not what my mission is.
You left London, you went back to Iceland for a bit, didn't you, to sort of get back in touch with yourself, really? And now you're living in Manhattan. So can you still be in touch with yourself in Manhattan? Are you enjoying life there?
Well, when I came to London, I thought I would be here for a year. I was just going to do an album and then sneak back home. And I liked it so much. I stayed for 4 years. And I do come here a lot. And some of my best friends for life I have made here now. So, but I do go to Iceland. I probably, now I've been going like monthly to Iceland. Yeah, all my friends, majority of my friends I have since I was a child, and they all still live there, and my family. And
your son's just gone back to Iceland as well, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Do you think you will end up back there?
Well, I never thought I would leave, you see. That's the weird thing.
So your heart is still there, and you visit these other places?
Yeah, which obviously is ridiculous, because you count the amount of days I stay abroad a year. It's more than I stay in Iceland, you know. But I'll just have to see. I keep thinking I know what's going to happen next, but thankfully I'm constantly surprised.
Can you say whether England has actually had an effect on your music?
Yeah, for sure.
In what way?
I think most people that do similar job than I do, or just any people, they have a period in their life where they break out of their families and they meet like-minded people, and where they become each other's school and share ideas. and that becomes like their blueprint for life. I think I was a bit late doing that. Most people do that when they're 15 or something. I did that when I was 27. I'm a bit of a slow and maturer. But I came here and I met actually a lot of immigrants that had the same thing. They came from a very stubborn culture that they loved very much, but they just wanted to make that extra move forward and be modern. And I met a group of people here in London that I still keep in touch with. That sort of, you become each other's skeleton or something for life.
So what's the future? Are you working on another album?
Yeah, I've just started working on my next album.
Are we allowed to know about it?
The thing is, I want to be generous, and I've said before, a few years ago in interviews, what I'm about to do is, and what it does, it jinxes you.
Yeah.
So you sit in the studio and you already talked about it, so it's pointless doing it. So you have to sort of keep that bit of an open.
Okay.
But believe me, I'm holding back now so I can give more later.
There is going to be a best of BJORK album, isn't there, to look forward to, out in September. Is that an easy task, getting all the best bits? Is that something that's left to you to decide what's going to go on that?
It's been a bit tricky. I choose to look at it more as a retrospective than a best of, just kind of like the story so far or something. And so there's going to be all these other little bits coming too. Sort of, I think if I am to tell that story to people, I would like to sort of include other things like when I started to write songs, you know, when I was a kid, and a bit of samples of that, and kind of the whole, my first lyric experiments, and kind of the whole story. So it's a lot of work.
And a bit of a diary for you, really, when you look at it like that, I guess. Yeah,
I think it's going to be quite liberating. I think once it's out, I sort of will feel like I'm back at point zero. And I'm looking forward to that.
Well, I wish you every luck and happiness with whatever you do, BJORK. Thanks ever so much for coming in.
Thank you.
That's all from me, Verity Sharp. Good night.
On the surface